in your face. Boom in your face. Hello and welcome to Boom in Your Face, a platform for indie artists and musicians to come and share their new music or project. We're excited to dive into the backstories in the world of independent artistry and explore the stories and experiences of those who are creating some of the most exciting and innovative work today. As we all know, the entertainment industry can be a challenging and competitive place, and independent artists and creatives often face even greater hurdles when it comes to getting their work seen or heard. However, despite these challenges, independent artists and creatives continue to push the boundaries of what's possible and bring their unique perspectives and talents to the world. So whether you're a fan of independent music, film, art, or just love hearing about the latest trends and developments in the entertainment industry, we invite you to join us on this exciting journey. With your support, we can shine a spotlight on the incredible work being done by independent artists and creators around the world and help to ensure their voices are heard loud and clear. That's why we need your support. We're committed to bringing you the most interesting and informative conversations with independent artists and creators from all walks of life. But we can't do it without your help. By supporting our podcast, you help us to bring these important stories to a wider audience and give independent artists and creatives the recognition they deserve. And I'm thanking you ahead of time for all your support, but also want to remind you that Boom in Your Face has a second meaning, that sometimes you think life is going one way, but boom in your face, it goes a total different way. So sit back and relax, enjoy, and blessings. Welcome, friends, to another episode of Boom in Your Face and Off the Grid Christian Ministries podcast. Today we have the joy of welcoming a woman whose life sings with purpose both on and off stage. She is a powerful vocalist, a steadfast community activist, and a faith-filled Christian believer whose heart beats for service and compassion, Dianne Garvis. Dianne is stepping into a beautiful new season of impact as she prepares for the upcoming 24th annual Good Neighbor Program event, a nonprofit devoted to strengthening good bonds, uplifting families, and reminding us all what it truly means to love our neighbors. And if that's not enough to get you excited, this event will feature none other than legendary Tony Danza, bringing his artistry, charisma, and heart for the cause. Today, we will talk about faith, music, community, and the kind of hope that inspires people to take action. So settle in, open up your heart and your spirit, and get ready for a conversation filled with purpose, joy, and a whole lot of soul. Friends, help me welcome the incredible Dianne Garvis. Welcome, Dianne.
Well, boom, here I am in your face.
That's right, boom. There you go. Right dead in center. Dianne, after I've read your incredible story of life and faith, you represent all of what Christ has said faith is about. Holding on to him in the most difficult times and seasons of our life, and he will bring us through it. It'll be hard sometimes. Sometimes it'll be joyful and playful. But either way, he brings us through as long as we stay close to him, right? Covered in the name. So with that,
That was a tough story.
Yes, I'd like to get to it because it's so powerful. And I love talking about Jesus. I love talking about the Lord and how he always is in control. No matter how much we think we're doing, it's never on our efforts. It's always on his. We just have to show up and he will show out.
Amen.
And you've been showing up.
Thank you. You know what I try not to do, Mary? I try not to do what Abraham and Sarah did. You know, God gave a promise.
Yeah.
But even though the promise happened, they got a little impatient and they thought they'd help God out. And that caused a bit of an issue, right?
Right.
So
a little bit.
I when I get tempted,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what area God has placed me in ministry wise, or even daily wise as a wife and a mom,
Right.
to just act. I pause and I'm like, wait a minute, you know, it's God saying, wait, let me handle this.
Yeah.
And it's, well, this is real life. You will hear the dog. I'm sorry, somebody must be coming to the door. But you know, so that is a big part of what I've learned as I've gotten older.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had a passion for Christ since I was 13. And, you know, when you're young and inexperienced, sometimes you just sort of like knock a door down and you're like, here I am, you know.
Right.
But we've learned to pause and wait and listen.
That's right.
I learned that
Mm-hmm.
God is a gentleman. He
Mm-hmm.
is not a used car salesman that will say, hurry, do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
He gives us the opportunity to wait. I often tell people, wait 3 days. You know, he'll tell us to wait, you know, and
Right.
pause. And as we've moved forward in ministry, whether it's teaming the community together when we know that there's a neighbor in dire need because cancer hit the family, because a house burns down, because a tornado goes through and there's dire need, or a major hurricane, you know, we pause and we're like, okay, here we are. How do you want to use us? And 100% of the time, every single plan my husband John and I have had
Mm-hmm.
to reach out to neighbors in need, God has 100% of the time said, great idea, but wait till you see how I want to use you.
Yeah.
All he's looking for, I'm not special. All
Mm-hmm.
he's looking for is people who are willing to answer his call. He does the rest. And it's just a matter of that Carrie Underwood song, Jesus Take the Wheel. I am here. You take over. You lead and guide me.
I'm listening to you, and I identify exactly what you're saying, because that is exactly how God works. He just needs us to be open and willing to serve,
Yep.
and stay humble, because sometimes when we're doing God's work, and he raises us to the places we need to be, in the spaces that you would think are incredibly unique to where you should be. But God said, no, I placed you there. But in that, you still humble yourself. Remember that God is in control, and he's the one that placed you in these spaces and places to represent, not to represent, just to be there, and he'll do the work. Just be there.
Salt and light.
That's
And,
right. Just be
and
the light. Be the light in the room.
that's it.
Bring the light into any dark area, and shine love into all the spaces that may not have normally had it.
Yeah. Do you know how this started? 1999.
Okay.
I'm reading the beginning of a 5-week series in the Orlando Sentinel, and it was titled The Poor Children of Lake County.
Okay.
And I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. I have a semi-famous grandmother who took care of the poor in Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
basically until the day she died at 90. We
Mm-hmm.
were raised as little teeny children, um, bagging groceries and going with her and taking them to neighbors in need. So I knew this world, correct? But
Correct.
now I'm down here and I'm reading these articles, and I would call my mom crying. And I'm like, I don't understand this, Mom. We've done this our whole lives. Why do we not see this? So, what this article series did for me
Right.
was cause me to put my children in the car one afternoon. Well, John was at work. John would have gone with us. And drive around to see what they were talking about. And it didn't take but 2 miles
Mm.
for me to find what was a shock. It
Mm-hmm.
was neighbors living in quality of housing that was a blessing for them because they had a roof over their head.
Right.
And for them, it was okay that literally there was plastic at the windows and dirt on the floors.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, I saw this, and you don't want me to just see this, Lord. What do
Right.
I do? My children were only, I don't know, 1 and 3. I'm not good with math. I don't know. They were born in 96 and 98. So yeah, 1 and 3. And my daughter says, Mommy, we have to get them beds. Um, let's get them something to eat. And we went to the store and we bought groceries, and we just anonymously left bags on people's doors. And at that point, my heart was racing like, I can't know this about my neighbors
Right.
and just think somebody else is taking care of this.
Mm-hmm.
So that article, I just started sharing, or those articles, with people. I would go to women's groups and church groups and just say, hey, did you see this in the paper? That year I was invited by Disney to do a Christmas concert with a jazz band at the Disney Institute. And that, now that we look back 24 years later, that all was the catalyst to start this ministry. And we have, for all of these years now, read in the paper or seen on the news stories about neighbors in need, whether again it's somebody that was in a car accident or has cancer, whatever it is, and we just reach out to friends and family. And now there's this amazing internet, which back in my day it was email, right, and phone
It
calls.
changed everything, yes.
Yeah, it goes like wildfire now. But the cool thing about what we do you remember the stories like Little House on the Prairie and stuff, where if somebody's barn burned down,
That's right.
the
Everybody.
community would come across the field. Here they are with supplies on their shoulders
That's
and
right.
somebody carrying baskets of food, and they all show up to build a barn. Here we are to help you. And that is what my husband and I have founded the Good Neighbor program on. It is teaming together time, talent, and resources to make the difference in a neighbor and to a neighbor in need.
I'm so in awe of what you're saying because it's so, I don't want to bring me into this conversation because this is about good neighbor, but I get what you're saying. And
Thank
it
you.
is once God shows you the need,
Mhm. Yeah.
now he's like, what are you going to do? I've brought you to where I need you to work. Let's start.
And
And
see that absolutely. And that's the thing that I think has caused the Good Neighbor program to be around so long.
Mhm,
I think God was like, I mean this humbly, but
mhm,
like, okay, there's some hands and feet I can use. And he feeds these
yeah,
needs to us, knowing somebody once said to me, you know, Diane, if I feel that if I ask you to take soup to so and so because they're in need, you're probably going to then start a soup kitchen. And
that's funny.
I was like, you know, I want God to say, give it to Diane. She's going to not just do this, but
Mhm,
she's going to listen to who can help give it back to me multiplied. You know, the parable of the talents.
mhm,
There was a Sunday that I was in my early 20s that I heard a teaching on that. It
okay.
made me cry because I'm like, whoa, whoa. I don't want to stand before God one day and say, here's back what you gave me. I want him to give me what everybody else didn't use and say, was there anything else you want me to do?
I know that's
Um, but
mhm,
you know, the one thing that I really want to share is we're not special. We're not about collecting money.
that's right.
We are literally just about having our eyes and ears open to see and hear the needs of neighbors
Yes.
and say, what can I do? There was a day
Mhm,
during COVID that I had to go to the store to get a graduation card because remember, everything was shut down,
yeah,
right? So I have
virtual.
a mask on and I'm picking out a graduation card to send to a cousin. And the person from the greeting card company was standing next to me, stocking with cards.
Okay.
She looked at me and she said, ma'am, I'm sorry that this is such a mess. And I looked at her and I said, oh my gosh, there's no need to apologize. Everything's a mess nowadays.
Right.
Just a statement, right? I don't know this woman. She cried. She
Wow.
said, can I hug you?
Mhm.
Everyone has been so mean to me every store I go to. I
Oh,
needed to hear that. Then she went off to the bathroom,
oh,
so emotional. And I'm like, see, that's where I say open our ears,
yes.
the needs around us. I could
Mhm,
have just said nothing, like, oh, that's fine. But the
mhm,
fact that I told her it's okay, everything's a mess nowadays.
right.
Did I know? So whenever something like that happens, I pause and I'm like, okay, be more careful with your words because
Yeah. The
even
power.
death's in the power of the tongue.
Right.
Be very careful with your words and what you say to people because it does affect them.
Exactly. It could bring life. It could bring death. All in that mouth and that word.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to. We're gonna go back in the time capsule, huh? But not,
Okay.
but not too much. But we're gonna go back to America's Mrs. World.
Oh my goodness gracious, you're so adorable. You mean when I was 24?
Well, I didn't want to go into that part, but I was going to go into just 1984.
I was 24. Do the
Uh,
math. I'm 65 now.
all right. We always are praising our age because that means God kept us here.
He did.
And
He
that's a
did.
blessing. Every year we celebrate. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We thank the Lord for him. So what
Yeah.
I was saying on what inspired you to do Tiaras for Hope.
Okay, so let me, since you brought up the 1984 thing, I have to share this testimony with you.
I know how that goes.
All right, all right. I was 13 years old
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the hospital. I
Okay.
was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors took my parents out of the room,
Mm-hmm.
stood outside the door, and told them with how severe it was by the time I was 25, I'm
Right.
sorry, 20, I would be in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really bad time. I was anybody that has arthritis knows how crippling it could be.
Yes.
The following week, I went to a charismatic healing conference in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania
Okay.
with a friend. I was young, with family and friend, and I'm way up in the bleachers because there were like 10,000 people there.
Mm-hmm.
During this beautiful event, the minister paused, and I had never heard of this before, but had what now I've learned is called a word of knowledge, and said, God is healing someone of juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And
Mm.
I'm like this little speck of pollen in this crowd of 10,000 people. Didn't know much about healing or anything. And my friend nudged me. And again, we're only 13. And she goes, That's you. That's you. And
Mm.
I just sat there. I'm like, okay, God, if you just spoke that for me, I receive it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was on a Saturday. We had a tremendous storm front come through for a week,
Okay.
starting Sunday. And I was always able to predict the weather because of how severe the arthritis was. Is in school, it was actually sort of like a magic game
Mm-hmm.
because my friends would be like, "So, are we going to have weekend off for next week off for snow?" It started raining. I never had a pain.
Mm.
I'm now 65 years old. I have never had another pain of
Wow.
arthritis.
Mm.
When I walked that runway in Nashville, Tennessee, crowned America's Miss for 1984, I was 24 years old.
All
And the
right.
doctors had spoken over me. I would be in a wheelchair by the age of 20.
Mm.
And God said, mm-mm. Because all I did was look up, okay, if that's for me, I'll take it. Nothing big, no big scene, not a lot of people screaming and hollering and praying over. It was just God, who's a gentleman,
Mm.
saying, I see you in this crowd. I hear the word that was just spoken upon your parents regarding you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, and I'm going to heal you. That was it. Do you know that 5 years ago, I
Mm.
did a charity Dancing with the Stars?
All right. Okay.
And I won,
Mm.
but
Okay.
the testimony was spoken by the MC that I was diagnosed to not be able to walk by the
Mm.
age of 20. So God is still using that testimony.
That's right.
And you know, it's quite amazing because every step I take every day is a miracle. So I when people have, lose hope, I'm able to share that.
That's right.
Tiaras of Hope has spun out of me losing my dad to cancer back in
Mm.
2013.
Okay.
And because I had that window of pageant back when I was young, that's something that's in the back of my mind, right? I was on the 700 Club sharing my testimony after winning America's Miss. I had the honor of being a Grand Marshal at Walt Disney World's parade and being, given by Mickey Mouse the certificate of honorary citizen when I came back from Nashville because back at the time, I was from Montverde, Florida, that only had 800 people in it. And it was a big thing that I had won a national pageant. And it was
Right.
very cool, but it was all to God's glory. So, there was a season there in my life. And then you fast forward to my life and as a daughter, and a mom. And then all of a sudden life changes in 1 minute when a doctor comes in and says, I'm sorry to tell you, your father has stage 4 colon cancer. Boom, life changes.
Yeah.
So after that 3-year journey and living on the other side of the window, watching life go by fast and as with people that don't seem to have a care in the world. Losing dad was tough. We were strong in our faith, thought God was going to heal him, but he healed him in a different way. My mom moved in with us for a while, and they were married 57 just beautiful years. So I would sit on my floor in my closet and I would pray every day for God to give me the strength to carry mom. One day in my closet on the floor, I was just shattered and crying. I'm like, I don't know how you can fix this. I don't know how to keep mom alive. I don't know what we're going to do. I was a little disrespectful to God. I said, you can't fix this unless you bring dad back. And then I literally in an instant said, I'm so sorry if I'd spoken to my mom that way. She'd wash my mouth out with soap. Sorry, God, didn't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm broken. Literally, that's word for word my conversation with God that morning. So while I'm just sitting there that quiet, I felt God touch me in a way that I can't explain and whisper to me that he sees that I'm shattered, that he would pick up the shards of my life and create a mosaic out of me. And I'm stronger and more beautiful than prior to the cancer journey. That he would trade these ashes for a crown of beauty. I came out of the bedroom and I went into the kitchen and my mom was in there fixing breakfast. And I'm like, Mom, again, this was only a couple months after losing dad. I said, Mom, you'll never believe what God just told me and how he's going to carry us. And she was just so delightful. She goes, tell me, kid, tell me. So I told her, I said, I told her what I just told you, that he's going to make a mosaic out of us and that he's going to create ashes out of beauty out of these ashes. And she said, I believe it, kid. So I just started sharing what God spoke to me just in faith, not seeing anything different. My mom, it was a miracle mom didn't perish. Okay. They held hands until Jesus took dad's hand.
Right.
I'm just sharing friends, people at church, people I work with. God, how you doing? God told me he's going to make a mosaic out of me. I don't know. I am shattered. It is heart-wrenching. And then out of nowhere, I get an email from a pageant that said, you've been nominated to compete in the Mrs. Florida pageant for American Dream. We'd love to talk to you. And I replied instantly because I was, 50? So I was 53 years old, right? So I replied instantly, thank you, but that ship has sailed. And she answered me back. Now, I don't know who this is. I don't know anything about this. I mean, I've been out of the pageant world forever, right? Because I wasn't one of those every weekend pageant people. That was a one-off, the one that won, and that was all just because God wanted to show up and show off in Nashville that, look, they said that she's not going to walk, okay? So I replied that, and she sent back some information that she had been told about the Good Neighbor program, and we had just rebuilt a house for someone. And she said, we know what you do for your community. You're a perfect fit for us. So we were out to dinner that Sunday with my mom and my husband and kids, and I just told them, and I was a little embarrassed because of my age and stuff. And they're like, all of them simultaneously said, do it. It'll get you out of the grieving rocking chair. Do it. So I reached back out to her and I said this, and I could even find the email and send it to you. I said, I would love to represent Central Florida in the Mrs. Florida pageant if you'll allow me to use the title and start taking princess crowns to children in hospitals, because I have just come out of a long journey and I know what it's like on the other side of those doors. Absolutely, yes, you can. So I made a cold call to Give Kids the Village here in Kissimmee, which is Make-A-Wish children. I said, I am the reigning Mrs. Central Florida. I would love to come and share some princess tiaras with your children there. Am I allowed to do that? They got it approved. The director who was working with me, stood back with his arms folded and just watched as I was crowning these children and just literally doing this is your special moment. This is your coronation day. And I place the crown on their head and I teach them how to do the wave, and I tell them that, and their parents are watching, and I'm telling them, I'm like, you see, when you're wearing these crown, all of these people are now they have to do what you say. And it was just amazing. And afterward, the director said, I thought this might be special, but I had no idea the impact it would have on the families. Will you come back? I bought 25 tiaras at that point and crowned 25 kids that day. I showed up. Can you see this? I showed up with this. This is crystal tiara, not plastic tiaras.
Right.
He was quite impressed with the quality of what I showed up with. And I said to him, I said, well, I'm doing this for God. I better do it right.
Exactly. There you go. That's right.
So the children are like, oh, I get to keep this. And I'm like, of course you do. Because there's one thing that I never wanted to do during my reign was take my crown off, go to a children's hospital, pose with it over somebody's head, and then take it away.
Right.
So they get their crowning moment, the moment that they deserve way more than I did on that stage. So I went back with my mom and she helped do it. And this was where God started creating the mosaic. And Mom and I started doing this ministry together. It eventually became what's now called Tiaras of Hope. I lost my mom yesterday. It was 8 years. To cancer very quickly. Nothing like Dad's journey. Like, we thought she had food poisoning. We're in the hospital, and 9 days later, she's in heaven. So that was tough, and I almost shut the ministry down. And out of that is where Tiaras of Hope really became what it is now. My family was like, "You can't stop this outreach." And my mother and I went a couple of times even to St. Jude's Children's Hospital and found hundreds of children there. It's not only about the coronation day. The Bible says that happiness brings healing to the bones too. So there's a moment of incredible happiness. But then I hug the parents before I leave. And I'm like, when you see that crown sitting on the dresser in your child's room, remember that God promises to trade ashes for a crown of beauty. This is a symbol of hope.
That's right.
And one of my ambassadors is a medical doctor of 40 years. And she has said that of all the tools in her medical bag, this tiara is the most powerful because it offers hope. And she said, yeah, you warned me that I may feel silly the first time I take a crown to one of my patients, but I saw the impact right away. I have ambassadors in Scotland, in UK, in Brazil, in Canada, and all over the US. I personally have purchased over 5,000 tiaras and crowned one by one with that whole coronation message, children and seniors in nursing homes. We also have a little side of the outreach called Tiaras of Honor. So during National Nurses Week, we honor our fire department heroes. We will go to them and we'll present them tiaras as well. It seems very silly.
Not at all.
But when you experience it, it's incredibly powerful. And again, it's not about me.
Exactly.
So I did have the honor of winning that national pageant in 2015, and that is how this ministry just catapulted as a result of that microphone that pageant gave me.
The testimony and the timestamps that God has given you to place in there. Now you say 1984, then you fast forward, right, to 2015, and then again, something not even what you desired came out of the blue for you. And not only did you participate, each time you won. That is the testimony of showing the faith line that God has given you on your journey. As you give those tiaras and you say, oh, it might seem silly. No, it sounds God purposeful. And that's what makes it work. And that's the inspiration that you're bringing through God's word, through his spirit to all the people that you service. And that's the story. You see, he gives us the story because people remember the story. but you're also doing the outcome, the actionable part of it. And that's so important when God places you in places and spaces that you take your testimony and you move it along the way he wants you to. So that way the action is there. Now think about what you just said, over 5,000 tiaras. That's 5,000 individual spirits you have touched and their families. Look at God.
Look at
How
God.
God is using you. Look how God is using you. Look at God. Because you never know if you just follow and be obedient, which you have been, on what he said that he needed you to do. Because just like you're saying, you've had hard periods where it could have been easy to say, no, not now. I need to worry about my feelings in this moment. But instead of that, you took your pain and made it still even a stronger purpose.
That is what fuels the purpose. It's the
That's
pain.
right.
Let me tell you what this did for my mom
Mm-hmm. Yes.
was so powerful. She was always the wind beneath my wings. And I was a little girl in talent shows, dressing me up and always, but never, ever out front. Her
Mm-hmm.
father died when she was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She was forced to grow up and help raise the children. There was never a time about my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And God allowed at my national pageant, when I won Mrs. Elite American Dream at that Florida theater in Jacksonville in 2015, it was on the day that we were told that my father had stage 4 cancer. So that was a painful day for us. But I'm standing on that stage, just being crowned, seeing my mom in the audience starting to make phone calls to my brothers and family up north. And I'm like, look at you, God. A day that was so painful for my mom, you chose this day for joy. And then because I had shared my testimony and what we had gone through, and up from the time I was given the title of Mrs. Central Florida to competing and starting this outreach, I personally purchased 225 tiaras over the 4 months and crowned 125 recipients up to that point. And my director, who I did not know until the day of going to orientation, but was impressed with that. And my mother's story. And at the ball afterward,
Mm-hmm.
they honored my mom with a sash called ambassador and a crown and made her the ambassador for the American Dream pageant, which they had not had before.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, this is about my daughter. And they're like, you guys are one. And that just started us ministering together.
Yes.
The giggles she would have when we were at a fitting for a fashion show or a photo shoot, and she's sitting there having hair and makeup done. And we're about to have our photos done by The Sopranos, the TV show The Sopranos photographer. So I'm like, okay, God, I thank you. It wasn't my mind, it was the Holy Spirit speaking in that closet that he would pick up the pieces and we'd be stronger and more beautiful than before the cancer journey. And I witnessed it, and I'm still witnessing it.
But I love you said when you came out that closet and you told your mother your testimony, what you heard, what God gave you, and she said, I believe you.
Yep, you tell me, kid. I believe it. Yep, just like that. She received
like that. She received it instantly. She already knew because he had already put it in her. So when you came when it was confirmation, she said, I believe you.
That's it. Tell me, kid. Amen. Yep. This isn't about me.
You're still not talking about yourself. You're still talking about all the spirits of hope that you're giving. So it's your story.
Okay.
You're not at all talking about yourself, Diane. Is why it is so powerful.
Okay, thank you.
You're just a vessel. So I get it and I understand. And so, no, don't take anything away from you being in the space because he placed you there.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, because we're not talking about Diane. We're talking about how the Holy Spirit has moved through Diane. I just said it this morning to someone that I said, it's always a blessing to be a blessing. That's what I love to be. Be the blessing to the blessing because I just want to be the pastor. God, whatever you want to give to me to give to others, please let that be. And that's what I'm listening to, Diane, of what you're doing. The pastoral.
I pray every single day that no day will ever be about me, but
Yes.
how to be a blessing to one person every day.
Amen.
I
Yes.
prayed that on my wedding day.
Mm.
I did pray it on my wedding day, and there were people whose lives were touched by the message that our pastors spoke.
Right.
People that had never gone to church before, So I'm like, I just cannot imagine, to be really honest,
Mm.
what life is like if I wake up every day and it's all about me. Like, it would be pretty empty.
Right. Like it's like if somebody asks me, what do you want? I'm like, what do I want? I'm not thinking about that. It's not
Yeah.
important right now. I need to help some people. So I get it. So it's just
This is all my heart, because I don't know who's listening.
yeah.
God sees you, even if you've never told anybody what you're burdened with.
Mm-hmm.
He is still in the business of healing.
Yes.
He's looking for people that will look to him to be God and not be in this box that we as humans put people in. He is God. And he stops when we look up and say, "You're God. Nothing for you." My son diagnosed with Down syndrome during my pregnancy.
Okay.
Um, and when we went for one of those checkups, the doctor didn't take us into the exam room. She took us into her office.
Okay. Yes.
And she says, I just want you to know, forgive me for being female and speaking it this way, but I'm just going to share it. She said, your eggs are as old as you are. And that was her way of explaining why the tests came back the way they did.
Right.
And she said, there are options. And obviously,
I know where this conversation's going.
and then we looked at each other and we're like, what are you saying? We're not ending the life of our son.
Exactly.
And then she leaned over her desk and handed us a brochure. And then she said, obviously, you are in denial. Quote, I will have a counselor in the room when your son is born, because I have seen this before. People in denial like you, the birthing experience and the experience afterward is too traumatic, and you're not going to be able to handle it.
What? Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Walked out. We were crying, going to the car.
Yes.
We picked up the phone and we made a phone call to the prayer line at 700 Club.
Okay.
They rebuked it. We didn't receive it. We changed doctors.
Of course, immediately.
We didn't speak about it because in death's in the power of the tongue.
Yes.
We didn't speak about it again.
Mm-hmm.
Son was born perfectly healthy. He is so smart. He skipped 2 grades in school. He is the one producing all of our charity shows since he has become an adult.
Right.
He is a laugh in the devil space.
Okay.
And like me never having a pain again, Gregory is polar opposite of what the enemy said.
Mm.
Don't give up. Don't give up. I have multiple testimonies that God has done in my life physically.
Mm.
I was supposed to have a hysterectomy at the age of 30. I was still single. I had 12 years of hemorrhages, and there was nothing more the doctors could do. I was scheduled for my hysterectomy. And I was directing the choir at our church for a healing service the Sunday prior to the Thursday of my hysterectomy. And I didn't even go up for prayer because I was directing the choir, but it was a time to just sit in quiet. I just sat before God. I said, he just preached about the woman who touched the hem of your garment. That's me, even the 12 years. I just sat by myself and said, God, I'm touching the hem of your garment. All I've ever wanted to do is be a wife and a mother. And I ask you to heal me. My dad took me to my pre-op with the surgeon on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
They had been following my tumors for 12 months. Around the room was the scans in the x-ray things showing tumors. He's scanning me. There was nothing found. He's scanning, he's looking, he's scanning, he's looking. He goes, what are you here for? I said, I was sent because you're doing a hysterectomy on Thursday. He said, there's nothing there. My feet didn't touch the ground until I got out into the waiting room and told my dad. I met my husband That was November. I met my husband Super Bowl Sunday,
Oh,
that upcoming year. And we had our first miracle baby at the age I was 36 years old.
all right.
Okay, so God sees you. I mean, there are things that aren't healed. My parents are in heaven, right?
Yes.
There's things we don't understand. There's a lot of I could sit here and share all of it.
Mm-hmm.
God ultimately knows, but I can also tell you
Mm-hmm.
is in the business of healing and looking for people that are waiting for him to be God and show up and show off.
That's right. Now, I'm going to speak just a snippet to that because your testimony is tied to one of my testimonies about that same thing with having a female specialist trying to give guidance when you're in your most vulnerable stage, because when you're pregnant and someone's telling you that is something not normal, so they say, right? And you're looking for support in what you need to prepare yourself as a mother now, even additionally to what you're normally expecting. And instead of getting support and encouragement, you're getting something that's not of God to tell you that an alternative decision to override what God has said is possible. So, yeah. So, yes, anyone listening, go to God, bring it to God.
Ears what you hear.
Hmm.
Be careful, little ears, what you hear.
That's right.
Tiny bit of who I am, Mary.
Diane, we could keep going all day talking, but we're gonna
Your
go.
audience.
We're gonna loop back to one of the purposes of, because
Okay.
that's not the purpose, but one of the purposes of why we're speaking today, and it's about your Good Neighbor program and your 24th annual
Yeah.
charity event. Yes, and we have a special guest, so we're going to play a little snippet of what's to come.
Don't miss Tony Danza live in concert Saturday, November 22nd at the Claremont Arts and Recreation Center. Tickets are on sale now at danzaevent.com or just scan the QR code to get yours today.
All the information will be up on the website. All the links will be included. But I'm going to put it everywhere for you, all because it's definitely something that everyone should get their heart wrapped around to help your neighbor.
Thank
Right.
you. We're doing a little call to action as well. We're
Yes.
asking people to bring non-perishable food. So,
Okay.
it's been a really tough time the last couple months. Yeah, so we are definitely asking people to, bring non-perishable food so we can, distribute that here in the community, especially with Thanksgiving around the corner.
So let everyone know exactly the location, even though they're going to get it on the website and all of that. But you tell them firsthand where they can go, Diane, to get all the information right away.
Okay, so we are at the show is at the Claremont Center for Performing Arts. Doors open. It's in Claremont on Highway 27. But if you go to their website, you're not going to see it on their website because they're not presenting it. The Good Neighbor program is presenting it. So danzaevents.com. You can go to the Good Neighbor program on Facebook or Dianne Garvis page on Facebook. The doors open at 6:30. The pre-show is at 7:15. And that is with the Rob Kerr String Ensemble and their Disney album. They're up for Grammy nomination right now. So the whole evening is going to be very, very special. And the purpose of it is it's our gift back to the community to say thank you for the way you were always there to help neighbors in need.
Amazing. Amazing. And so you're looking for non-perishable items, correct?
Yes, please.
All right. So now you heard it. That'll be Saturday, November 22nd, 6:30. Get your ticket and get in the spirit of the holiday season because it's coming in. And what a best way to kick it off.
Absolutely.
With neighbors.
Thank you, Mary. By the way, there are five seats left in the front.
All right.
And meet Tony after the show. Just saying.
Yes. You want to meet Tony, once in a lifetime opportunity. Right here in your backyard, right there down the street. He's coming to y'all, people, right here in Claremont.
Yeah, he's got a great heart. He is genuine. He is absolutely so gifted and talented, but his heart, he doesn't take any days for granted. His story is pretty powerful. He'll share it, but he was in an accident that nearly killed him, and that's what changed his life. So yeah, it's going to be a really lovely, lovely evening.
Okay, we're going to get personal.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
God in the room, people, come on out.
Thank you, Mary. I am so honored that you shared.
Listeners, I want to thank you again for joining me for another episode of Boom in Your Face. Please remember to support the podcast on the website. As a reminder, if you'd like to share your Boom in Your Face music or share your Boom in Your Face moment or just want to join in the conversation, reach out and email me at boominyourface616@gmail or visit the website and sign up for the newsletter and share your story. I'm your host, Mary Kearney. Be blessed. Boom in your face. Boom in your face. Boom in your face.